Enterprise GenAI succeeds when innovation is matched with accountability. In this section, we'll move beyond technical controls and ask, who approves, monitors, audits, and owns the risk when an LLM is running in production? Let's connect the paths so far. Architecture gave us the system patterns. Deployment made them repeatable and release-ready. Monitoring and evaluation made behavior measurable. Security and access controls reduced misuse and data exposure. Governance brings these threads together by assigning accountability, compliance, and risk management to GenAI operations at enterprise scale. In production, an LLM is not just a model. It becomes a business system with legal, security, operational, and reputational consequences. Governance connects those risks to clear decisions. Who approves a use case? Who can change prompts or models? Who monitors behavior? And when a system must be retired? It also creates evidence through policies, access controls, traceability, audits, risk assessments, and human oversight. The goal is repeatability, so incidents and changes are handled through a controlled process, not ad hoc judgment. An AI governance operating model answers a practical question. Who decides what, and what happens when something goes wrong? Product teams define the use case, value, user experience, and acceptable behavior. Engineering and platform teams turn that intent into reliable systems with deployment, monitoring, versioning, and controls. Data, security, and privacy teams set rules for access, handling, guardrails, and monitoring. Legal, compliance, risk, and operations ensure regulatory fit, audit readiness, incident response, and continuity. The goal is not bureaucracy. It is clear ownership, faster decisions, and safer scaling. Governance only works when decision rights are explicit. For every LLM application, name accountable owners for the business outcome, model behavior, data, prompts, access, and operations. Separate the people who build from the people who approve, review, and audit, because that separation reduces blind spots and conflicts of interest. Also define where issues go when outputs are harmful, policies are violated, security is affected, or regulators may care. Review boards, architecture boards, risk committees, and change boards give those decisions a consistent home. Governance should also be proportional. A chatbot that summarizes internal notes does not need the same review as a model supporting loan advice, legal analysis, or clinical decisions. Risk tiering gives teams a common way to classify use cases by impact and likelihood of harm. Low-risk tools can move quickly with basic security and monitoring. Medium-risk tools need stronger testing, clearer human review, and better logging. High-risk tools require formal approvals, documented validation, retained audit trails, and explicit oversight. The goal is to place the heaviest controls where mistakes would matter most. Privacy and compliance cannot be added after launch. They have to shape the system design. Start with the data. Limit what is collected, mask or encrypt sensitive fields, control access, and define retention. Then map obligations to the use case, whether that means GDPR, HIPAA, SOC2, ISO 27001, or financial model risk rules. For vendors, check processing terms, sub-processors, residency, and cross-border transfers. Finally, align with internal policies for data classification, acceptable use, legal hold, audit evidence, and incident response. The goal is operational trust, not paperwork. Those privacy controls need to follow the data wherever it moves. Sensitive information can appear in prompts, retrieved documents, intermediate reasoning traces, responses, embeddings, and logs. First, detect and classify it consistently. Then apply the right control. Redact what is not needed, tokenize or pseudonymize identifiers, anonymize datasets, encrypt data in transit and at rest, and restrict access by role. Retention should be specific, not generic. Prompts, responses, context, evaluation data, and audit logs may each need different timelines. Avoid sending unnecessary user content to third-party tools without review. Audit logging is more than keeping transcripts. It is building a chain of evidence across the AI workflow. Capture who made the request, when, under which tenant, and with what metadata. Record what the system retrieved, including source documents, index versions, relevance scores, and authorization checks. Include the model side as well, prompt versions, system instructions, tools, parameters, and outputs. Then preserve the governance layer, such as guardrail decisions, blocked actions, reviews, and override reasons. An auditor should be able to reconstruct the decision path without guessing. To make that evidence usable, logging needs a deliberate design. Treat each important action as traceable. User request, model call, retrieval, guardrail result, and human review decision. Use shared correlation IDs so investigators can rebuild the story end to end. At the same time, not all logs deserve the same handling. Operational telemetry can feed observability and SIM tools, while sensitive audit records may need redaction, encryption, access control, retention rules, and tamper-evident storage. The goal is enough detail for monitoring, compliance, and model risk review, without turning logs into a privacy liability. Governed GenAI depends on documentation that survives beyond the team that built the system. A model card explains what the model is for, how it was evaluated, where it performs poorly, and what uses are off-limits. A system card captures the application around the model: workflows, integrations, controls, dependencies, and failure modes. Data lineage records show where information came from, how it was transformed, indexed, secured, and retained. Risk assessments connect threats to mitigations, test evidence, approvals, and monitoring duties. Together, these artifacts turn informal knowledge into reviewable, auditable evidence. Approval should be a controlled pipeline, not a last-minute sign-off. Start by identifying the change: a new use case, model, prompt, data source, RAG index, or guardrail. Then classify risk and route the work to the right reviewers. For high-risk releases, require evidence from evaluations, security, privacy, operational readiness, and rollback planning. The strongest workflows pull evidence automatically from CI/CD tests, monitoring, policy checks, and change systems. Finally, preserve a clear record of who approved what, when, and under which conditions. Model risk management is not a gate at the end of a project. It starts when an LLM use case is proposed by identifying risks like hallucination, bias, unsafe advice, weak explainability, or over-reliance. Before launch, the system is validated with offline tests, red teaming, adversarial prompts, and human review. After deployment, monitoring looks for drift, regressions, complaints, guardrail failures, and incidents. Any meaningful change to the model, prompts, data, business use, or regulation should trigger review and reapproval. Eventually, systems are retired with evidence preserved. Compliance becomes real when it moves from policy language into operating rhythm. Track signals that show control health: overdue reviews, open high-risk findings, policy violations, incidents, and evidence coverage. Review those signals on a predictable cadence, especially for critical systems, vendors, regulatory changes, and control effectiveness. Connect the workflow to tools teams already use, such as ticketing, CI/CD, monitoring, SIM, and GRC systems. Then close the loop. Lessons from incidents, audits, evaluations, and users should update policies, controls, documentation, and training. That is how governance becomes continuous improvement, not a one-time checkpoint. The key message is that enterprise GenAI is not just a model in production. It is an accountable service with named owners, traceable evidence, privacy controls, documented approvals, and continuous oversight. Those same practices prepare you for scale. Next, we'll connect governance and observability to cost optimization, model routing, and sustainable production operations.